Yo, what's up? It's your boy DGL7. Today I have a special guest. I've actually been interacting with this guy for quite some time. And actually, I've been impressed with his ongoing work. A lot of candidates, I see they'll do a little bit of work and they're not really used to really going out and being a warrior. But JDR, Jonathan Rinaldi, the dude is definitely a warrior. He's definitely about fighting. He's got a lot of energy. I'm really excited about this guy. And I definitely felt like I had to bring him back on the show. We had him on once. There were some audio problems, but um, this guy's working on so many things. I know the main thing that you've been really working on the migrants on is really impacting your community tough with Creed more all those things. But what are the current things you're working on? I know you're always so busy.
Yeah, I appreciate you hooking me up and letting me be on the show again. And yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much a good way to segue this thing. You start working on the migrants and you start asking questions, and then that basically leads to what they're trying to do, from bringing people over here, from giving them everything for free, from changing the zoning, from doing things to public housing. All of it is part of a plan. Even down to the congestion pricing, down to every little aspect of policy derives straight from the migrant issue. And that's what I found. And now I'm just on a mission to get to the truth.
Okay. So the thing is that I'm probably a little bit more left leaning than yourself, but that's fine, right? At least, but by the way, the other lefties have canceled me. But I appreciate you being open to having a discussion with me. So supposedly they're the side of inclusion. No, okay, but thank you for talking with me. Now, in terms of the migrants and stuff like that, I do also agree that the migrants are being victimized in this situation. But a lot of people who have not done a lot of work with these communities don't really understand how they're being used by the Democrat machine to push services, to push NFPs, to push corrupt money around. Not necessarily service. Anybody who's been around the homeless shelter system before the migrants arrived know what a horrible crap show that was. Huge amounts of corruption. Also, I think what's his name? That guy's running for governor again. What's his name? Cuomo. What his cousin's sister or something was running. What was heading the division, getting paid like $400,000 a year, and they were stealing the money. And this was reported. So there's a lot of victimization going on with the migrants right now. I know it's opened your eyes some things. What are some now? A lot of people, they get their information from the press, but you're starting to see more things going on. What do you think are some of the misconceptions going on about the migrant crisis?
Well, I think the migrant issue is a human trafficking issue, right? The whole definition of human trafficking is the exploitation of people for work, for labor, and sex work. And that's exactly what's going on. I mean, in Roosevelt Avenue in my district is full of open air prostitution. The mayor went over there to do a little show of force, and he closed down a couple of, brothels, but they're back open. There's, open air prostitution. There's a delivery service for prostitution. So even if you closed all the storefronts, they're still going to be out there, because people don't understand when they come here, they have to sign agreements. They have to sign contracts. They might sign a 3 to 6 month contract with these people, but they have to pay them back for bringing them over here. And then it's just modern day slavery. It's not about illegal. It's not really, you say the word illegal alien and you're a racist. You say the word migrant and then you get, your heartstrings are all like, oh, we want to take care of people. But it's a human trafficking situation. You have child labor. There's children selling candy on the train. Like, I feel terrible for these people. Everybody should have a right to better themselves. But this is not that. This is a plan to crash the budget. It's a plan to overload the welfare system. And the reason for doing that is once you crash the welfare system and the city doesn't have any money to pay for police, to pay for fire department, to pay for school, then the federal government's going to come in here with their complete socialism, and the states' rights are going to be gone. The police will be centralized, and everyone is going to be living in hell. And that's what they're trying to do.
Okay. So, it's good to understand your take on the situation. what are some things that you think that people could do to try to now the thing is, the migrant situation, there's a lot of misinformation going on. Just so you know, do you know Martha Rowan, by the way?
Yes, she's the one of the leaders of the Medical Freedom Party.
She's a former Green Party member, like myself, right? Yeah, like someone who's more progressive minded. But last night we were actually in a meeting together where we were seeing that they're actually importing a majority of migrants now are coming from China. They're not, they're even like people are flying across the seas because they see this open hole in the border where they can really come in. And and some of these they're not actually poor, right? Yeah, I think people are getting paid off to let these people in the country. It's definitely a security issue, and it's
Well,
my
they are, from what I heard, getting about $2,200 just for crossing the border. So what people are doing is they're crossing the border, going right back over the border, crossing it again, going right back over, crossing it again, so they're making thousands and thousands of dollars just by this system that's in place. And look, it just comes down to this: we're funding foreign wars, right? Which are endless wars, which are bankrupting the federal government. Each family of four is about in debt of like $100,000 on average each just to pay for this. Then they're bringing all these people into the cities to bankrupt the city and also to come in to vote. I mean, in reality, they're here to vote. That's the ultimate plan. But they're crashing the budget in the city and then replacing everybody because at the end of the day, it's a cultural replacement. There's no assimilation. You bring too many people here, nobody's going to be American. So they're replacing us, they're bankrupting us, and then for all the poor and middle class people that live in the city, that live in the public housing, with congestion pricing, with pact taking over your section 9 homes, you're about to lose your home. You're not going to be able to afford to go into the city. I mean, you're not going to be able to have a car. And then they're selling out the public sidewalks to Lyft and Uber and City Bike. Basically, the city council is selling off public property. We have horrible contracts, and all the hotels are being, and homeless shelter, which are being paid for by the city. And what's going to be left? You're going to have a section of the population, which in reality is like in the projects in the low income parts of the Bronx and then Queens, and you're going to have people that are going to be completely assed out. And then on top of that, with all the Palestinian stuff that's happening in the street, I mean, listen, they started this Israel Palestine conflict right before the election. I was there. I saw it right before the election. And now they're trying to get us to fight a civil war. They want all New Yorkers to be fighting with each other in the street over Palestine while they're turning everything upside down in the city. So, I don't know how to go into the middle of the Palestinian protesters and urge them to please wake up to the fact that they're trying to make us have a civil war in New York City. Stop focusing on countries that Congress just spent, promised billions and billions of dollars to blow up the Middle East, which, by the way, are brown people. So you're out there trying to get brown people killed, and you don't realize that they're taking your city from you. So everything's just upside down, and then I'm the bad messenger because I'm the Republican.
there's
So
quite a few things that I have some differences with what you said, but we're still working that out. And once again, right, because JDR is still willing to have a conversation with me, we can actually make progress on that. So he's extremely busy, and I'm actually a fan of his work. Not saying that I agree with every single position he has. That would be ridiculous anyways. Just no one's going to agree 100%. But once again, I do appreciate him having a conversation. I do want to ask, you touched on so many issues right there. Wow, each one of those issues has so many different ways to dice it up. But as in terms of the um, like Republican response, right? I know that you're actually how much support. I remember that there was actually a footage of you're actually having a face off with Steven Spear, who's actually also a strong person in the Republican Party at the Queens Village Republican Club. Shout out to them for having me give a presentation on housing over there. What's the state of the Republican Party in New York City, and do you think that they're actually able to support you and really mount a serious offense? I know there's some fracturing going on.
Well, look, I did not only have a problem with Steve. I also had a problem with a couple of district leaders. I had a problem with Vicky Palladino. I had a problem with a bunch of people. And look, when I decided to run, um, nobody knew who I was, right? Because I
Right.
didn't want to do this for any other reason than I felt like I had a duty. I always say that politicians shouldn't be career jobs. You're supposed to hate doing politics. You're supposed to go in there because you have to turn the tables and then you leave. It's not a place for you to become complicit and to make deals and to do all kinds of stuff.
I
So,
like that.
so here's me, right? Who basically I don't care. Like we should hold people accountable for all of the stuff that they've done, right? Like if I ever have a hearing in Congress and I'm there, I'm going to get to the bottom of the information. I don't care who I have to subpoena. I don't care who I have to go through. The truth is the only thing that matters. So the Republican Party is a lot stronger than people might think because specifically in the South Bronx, the Democrats have just stolen everything and basically just have left their base for foreign nationals. If you go to any of the city hall meetings that are in front of the steps, everything is for the illegals. All the city council, everybody is there representing the illegals, not for New York. So the Republican Party is wary of me because I'm a little uncontrollable. Like I don't take money from NGOs and organizations like Transalt and things like that. They're going to make me vote in there. I'm just doing it for myself, and I don't care who's in front of me. Now I've had to tone it down a little bit because my strategy basically in the beginning was to be over the top so everyone can talk about me. I had no other way to get onto the media because when I would show up and do rallies and press conferences in my suit and tie, none of the media would cover me. So when I went to the Roosevelt Hotel and I shut down AOC from doing there, it was a little bit of a social media experiment because I showed up there in my sweatsuit. I showed up there being ridiculous, and I didn't tell anyone who I was. I didn't tell them I was running for city council at the time. I didn't tell them, what party I was affiliated with, but it was so powerful that it got shared and went viral. But then nobody knew who I was. So it's like a give and take of how people feel.
Yeah, I think you got on the. Did you get on the front page of the New York Post?
I was on the front page of the New York Post for a different story because, of my
Yeah, you've been on a tear, bro. You've been running. You've been running hard. Go ahead. Yeah, that was another one, huh? Okay,
right.
what
Well,
was the New York
listen,
Post one?
I was on Humans in New York. I was on New York Post. I was in the Daily Mail. I was in the New York Times. I've been on every media outlet. And that's why I feel like I'm such a good candidate to run against AOC because I can get in the media and we can have it all out in the
Now,
press.
as an effective outsider, you may be experiencing pushback, right? Once again, like you said, from party, people who've been established in the party who say, who's this new guy? Who does he think he is? We're gonna, no, like, we got this whole thing sort of, he doesn't get to be a part of this unless he comes in on our terms, which is so very interesting. How'd you do that? And are there any other insurgent candidates or was it like, it's pretty cool, man.
It's
I
pretty
like
cool
that
when
aspect of things.
when nobody knows who you are, but at the end of the day, for
You need
anyone
to
that
be known.
wants to run, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, it's extremely easy to do so, and I can teach anyone how to do it because the information is what's valuable. As soon as you put your hat in the ring, people want thousands and thousands of dollars to teach you. I will teach you for free because everybody should know. But the only thing that anyone ever cares about is who can raise the most amount of money. So right now, as a candidate who isn't endorsed yet, but hasn't been in a primary or anything like that, it's very difficult for people to donate. So, at the end of the day, if you want to go be a candidate, go do it. But if you don't have the ability to fundraise, you're gonna run into some issues, and that's kind of where I'm at now because there are some candidates that are better fundraisers because at the end of the day, people want to get paid to go help with petitioning. People want to get paid to make palm cards. People want to get hired for consultant work. Like politics is just all about money. It's all about people wanting a piece of it, especially if you're raising it.
Okay, I'm
So
going to address the comment right now made by Joanne Haley. Thanks for watching, by the way. She says, the great replacement shtick is racist. That alone should tell me that no one should vote for you. And I appreciate that comment, Joanna. But just so you know, once again, like I said before, I'm doing a lot of work with like wrongfully incarcerated, disabled. Look at my body of work, and the people that you think are not racist, right? Yeah, are actually shutting me out. And I'm going to tell you that right now. Martin Luther King himself said that it's the moderate, right, who, in their sense of self-righteousness, they deny their own racism, which also we all have a little bit of racism. Let's be honest, right? Yeah, no one's perfect, but this guy's willing to have a conversation with me, and I really appreciate Jonathan for that. And he's really distinguishing himself from many of the other groups that are actually shutting, not just myself, also Martha Rowan and other, not we're not always on the same side, but this group, believe it or not, right? I'm an Asian American. Let's see who's your opponent. Let's see what Gennaro. Let's see if he has a if he can have a discussion with me. If not, why not? Right? You gotta trust the people that's with you, not the people that they give you. The people that's with you are not going to be perfect, but at least they're with you. So that's just my response to Joanna. Sorry. I know once again that a lot of people that I work with, I'm more of a progressive audience. A lot of them are not going to like some things you said. I already detect some differences, but once again, he's accessible. He's having conversation, and no one's perfect. Let's listen and let's see how we can work together. Maybe he's not. Maybe there's a way we can come together, Joanna. So just want to say it to all the critics that might be watching. Sorry about
Well,
that. Go ahead.
if it's okay if I could just address something that she said, right?
Go
It's
ahead.
like, for example, the other day Alvin Bragg goes out and he wants to arrest 70 of the NYCHA supers, right? Now, why do you think that they want to decapitate the facilities management at NYCHA? Okay, you think because somebody just tells you it's a cost of doing business in these buildings. If you remove the facilities management of NYCHA when they're trying to demolish them, right? Like at some point, people have to wake up and see with their own eyes. I'm not doing a shtick and I'm not being racist when I'm trying to expose that they are going to remove you from public housing because they have to take you out of there in order to demolish the buildings to put mixed use buildings. Nobody is going to get their applications processed. Nobody's getting free apartments with hardwood floors. They're taking you out of your public housing and they're not going to give you the social services back. And the Section 8 that they're going to replace Section 9 with removes you of all the rights that you were afforded to in Section 9, and your rent is going to go up probably by 2 or 3 times. So call me racist all you want, but what's happening is what's happening. And if you don't think that they want to accelerate the demolition of the buildings by removing the supers, you guys have to wake up. You think
There's a lot of other stuff I need to tell you on this situation because I've been on this field for a long time. But once again, I just want to mention to the critics out there, Jonathan Rinaldi, look at the. I have some. I know you have your own social media. I know Christopher Leon Johnson's been covering your work as well. You know that he's a friend of the channel. Look at how many times Jonathan Rinaldi has shown up for public housing, and look at how many times his opponent has shown up for public housing. And then, you look at who public housing serves, mainly, minority communities, and ask yourselves, right? Yeah, just because you don't like some of the words coming out of his mouth, who's actually helping the community? Come on, there's no comparison. Jonathan Rinaldi has come out many times over months. This has been, and I appreciate his work on this and bringing light to the issue of the ending of public housing in the nation as we know it. I still think that, look, he's very busy. As you heard, he's storming things, he's a one-man army out here. And I could tell he's going to be, I think if this cycle, he's got a very tough race to battle. But as in terms of a long-term ally, I think he's got the goods. And I plan on staying working with this guy. So I think so all the critics out there, we're going to see where it goes. But thanks again for your work. Yeah. Look at this guy's body of work. Right, though, the people listen to the lies that they want to hear instead of the actual facts. Your opponent has he even done one event at public housing? I don't think he has.
no, he hasn't. But my opponent now is AOC. My opponent back then was Gennaro, but of course he's not going to go to public housing because the Democratic Party just feels like they already have that vote, so they
Oh,
don't
you're
need
running
to
against
go out and get
AOC
it.
now?
Yeah, I'm running for Congress against AOC. Yes.
Okay, so you refiled for
No, I was always running against her. It's just Gennaro was for city council last year, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got the races mixed up. Okay. Oh, you're against AOC. Oh my goodness. Well, this becomes much more. I actually had Jonathan Howe last cycle was running against AOC too. Yeah, so this is a good way for us to once again provoke conversation, right? So yeah, AOC, she's too busy at the Met Gala. Stop. She hanging out with the rich folks, saying she's helping the poor, right? Yeah. JDR says a couple things he doesn't like. He's actually spending time with us. Y'all need to wake up, for real. Okay. Sorry. So, thank you for letting me say that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and yeah, AOC. Just remember, look, I'm a candidate that came out of nowhere, but I'm from out here. Like candidates that come out of nowhere and have millions and millions of dollars behind them, that's the kind of stuff you have to watch out because who's giving them those millions of dollars? It's not the $5 or $10 that I'm getting from the people on the street when I'm trying to get petitions. It's not the $5 or $10 that I'm getting per person to knock on the doors, right? This is big money backing. This is public interest. That's why she spearheaded the Green New Deal. That's why she's spearheading all of these things because they're paying her to do so. You know, it's not her. She's not a real candidate. You understand that? That's a big problem. And they put her, she's got the right look, she's got the right accent, she's got everything right. And all you're gonna do is call me racist and not gonna look at the fact that she has turned Roosevelt Avenue into open air prostitution. So again, I don't, just look at policy, look at the body of work, like you said.
Yeah. She's not all bad, she's not all good, but once again, Jonathan Rinaldi showing up for our community and AOC is not. Just no arguing that, right? Jonathan once again is not perfect, not the devil either, right? Yeah. But he's showing up for us and look at the body of work. Thanks again. Yeah. So now the thing is that running for US Congress, you may have some agreements with other states. Are there any other states that are particularly interesting to you to really work in allyship with New York as it comes to resisting this whole loss of our? Honestly, I feel like the migrant community and the people in New York are both. We don't have control of our own lives. They're being shipped over here, right? People are playing games with them. People playing games with us, right? Who decided that they get to move into our community? Like I never voted on anything. Nobody even asked me. It was just all of a sudden, oh, we're going to take these people and going to move them into your neighborhood. What? Are there other states that are also helping take a lead as in terms of resisting this type of, you know, rich people making decisions for us?
I mean, look, there are some states, obviously, that are out there, but I think, like, for all intents and purposes, this is money, right? This is the federal government, and what is it that we're spending the money on? Because Congress, the House, they have control over the purse,
Okay.
right? So at the end of the day, the main issue that I want to really address is to cut a lot of the unnecessary spending that the government's doing, right? Like, there's no reason why we need to spend $223 million to send to Ukraine, right? On some God knows again, and Ukraine, just go back, right? Joe
Okay.
Biden went on TV, said, "Okay, COVID's over." The next day, he goes on TV and tells us we have to go to war with the Ukraine. Like, it's so important for people to just wake up to the Hegelian dialectic. I mean, you have to look at how these things happen, when they happen, who's responsible for them, and then really don't just believe everything you see on TV. But look, regardless, the Smith-Mundt Act, which Obama had basically got rid of, was an act that was there to avoid the CIA and the intelligence agencies from using propaganda against our own citizens. So a lot of what we see, we can't even. It's legal for them to lie and to tell us nonsense. So but again, when it comes to the federal government and the spending, like at the end of the day, we have to just cut our spending like by an insane amount. We need to stop endless wars. We need to stop giving foreign nationals everything for free, and we need to focus and work on our communities.
And like we do have some differences. I know like people are watching, but as in terms of the spending, right? Yeah. If the money actually got to the poor people, the homeless and stuff like that, the homeless people would be in great condition. But I'm sorry to say that a lot of the money gets scooched out and stolen. And the Democrats say that they're for helping the poor people, and under that mask, they steal the money like crazy. NYCHA, just so you know, we talked about the NYCHA corruption earlier about the 70. out of control. And the same thing is going on. You can look up the same thing is going on in the homeless shelters. It's dangerous over there. It's criminal, and people are dying from the neglect. So, they say they're helping us, they're actually killing us. So some of the criticisms out here do need to really be examined. And if the system cannot support it, you have to be realistic. So I appreciate, once again, while me and Jonathan will agree on everything, uh, in the end, someone who works with the disabled, works with the homeless, work with public housing, the fact that I'm here with Jonathan Rinaldi and I'm really liking him more than AOC should tell you a lot. By the way, I'm not against all. I like Zoran Mamdani. He's done some things with our community, but AOC has always been too big to deal with us. She's busy hanging with her Met Gala friends. It's disgusting. Yeah. By the way, are you going to win your primary? Do you think, or are you the only one?
Well, right now there's a few candidates. They haven't selected one as of yet. I think Tina Forte is running. She ran against AOC last year, so she has quite a bit of support. But I think I'm the best candidate because I'm not like there's no amnesty. Like I'm going in and I'm going to hold people accountable for forcing us to get vaccines, for kicking our veterans out of the homeless shelters, for taking away the social services for all the people that need it. Like we need somebody in there that's not going to be making deals and playing with these people. And there's one quick thing I wanted to mention that I think is an important topic that people really need to understand because a lot of the topics of the left are very designed to affect your emotions, right? So the reason why I say that is because when we were taken off the gold standard years ago, right? What is our dollar based on? What is our dollar? We are on a petrodollar. We make our money from selling gas and oil. Now, if you have a socialist candidate like AOC, who is one of the sponsors of this whole Green New Deal agenda, right? If we go ahead and base our energy on cobalt and lithium, which are, mind you, are mined by children in Africa and the Congo. So if you're going to take our energy away and base it off of child labor, our dollar is going to be worth zero. Do you understand? We take it off of the petrodollar and we don't buy gas and oil, we are going bankrupt even more. And then there is no coming out of that. So, there's a lot of these complicated topics that people aren't even speaking about because it's just way too, complex and nuanced, right? But, you're going to be putting city bikes and electric scooters in all around the city, and there's going to be no business. There's going to be no one making any money because the dollar is now tied to nothing, and everyone's going to be broke, and the city's going to go and be in civil war because they're trying to make us all fight with each other. So it's very dangerous.
I know this is going to sound like extremely odd, right? But the thing is that results matter. I know that's not an odd thing to say, but if you take a look at the amount of people deported under Obama versus Trump, Obama deported way more, right? By the way, I think the immigration question is, being Asian American myself, I think it's quite a bit more complex. There's a lot of migrants who come in with student visas, with traveler visas that are abusing the system that way, that are not documented. The migrants now, they're coming from China. I believe they're middle class that are probably paying their way. Remember that the mayor was taking money from Turkey, right? Yeah, his campaign advisor. There's international deals going down, and they're using the Latino faces to mask other international things probably going on. I don't doubt it for a second. Do not believe the news. But once again, Jonathan's been actually on the scene multiple times, not just at the Roosevelt Hotel, but also at Creedmoor, and like that's another housing place for migrants and stuff like that. So you've actually been more closer to see what's going on. By the way, when you went to see the migrants, besides maybe that one, I don't know if AOC even showed up once. I think you've actually gone to visit their living conditions and gone to see how they're doing more than AOC. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried.
Yo, seriously, right? Go ahead.
Well, first, let me just say this because, out of any candidate or city council person or any elected official, I was able to stop the migrants from coming and to the Q Motor Inn in my district when I was running for city council. I actually held a rally and I stopped them from being accepted in the hotel in one of my districts. So I'm very proud of that. Now, in terms of the living conditions, right, there's a few issues with that. Number one, we have a constitutional crisis, right? We have the National Guard in violation of the Third Amendment. Nobody even knows what the Third Amendment is, but we have a violation of the Third Amendment. That's they're basically running security on public property for foreign nationals. Now, my problem is that when a third party organization rents out an entire facility on the government dollar, that's now public property. Okay. And lobbies, hallways, corridors, that's all public and we should all have access to it. What's happening is that basically the security, FJC or whatever other security is there, is basically telling the public that the sidewalks are not, they can't be on it, they can't come into the lobbies, and then you have National Guard inside of these buildings which are enforcing policy. So we have a big constitutional problem. Now, when these families come into these places, first they have to go to the Roosevelt Hotel. The Roosevelt Hotel is where they get processed, and then from the Roosevelt Hotel they get placed in either a hotel or a shelter, or one of the tent cities, Floyd Bennett Field, wherever. And they can only stay there for like 6 to 9 months or 6 months or whatever it is that they're able to stay there. And then they have to leave. So, but since people,
I just want to throw in a couple things right there. Now, I'm sorry to interrupt you, yeah, but just so you know, I am someone who supports migrants. So it sounds weird, like why am I seeming to have this good rapport with Jonathan Rinaldi when it seems so against migrants? We do have positional differences, but formerly being like around homeless shelters, right, seeing how they're spending the money buying all these beds and stuff, they didn't need to spend the money on that. They're spending, right, you said they're spending money on security guards. The security's getting the money, not the migrants. They're giving the migrants, right, uncooked food, unsafe food, right? Yeah. So even if you want to really, from someone who takes a more of a let's help them like approach, right? Yeah. From someone who's been on the street, someone who's seen how they suffer, they're not getting taken care of, right? It's actually just a scheme to pay, right, the not-for-profits that's servicing them, right, in criminal ways, paying their executives $400,000, saying they're helping, but nobody looks to see how they're actually getting help. So if you're getting poisonous food, if you're getting, right, if the people around you are violent, right, and your children are in danger, you're not going to stay in that facility. It looks like a jail. They got a whole bunch of cots there, and who paid for all those beds? What a waste of money. What are they going to do with the beds now? It's amazing the amount of waste that's going on and not going to actually help these people. I'd rather, right, yeah, just it not be there straight up. So even though I do support migrants, I know it sounds strange, but if you're not out there helping migrants, you don't know what's going on, then you need to really reassess a whole bunch of stuff. Thank you for letting me say that. Go ahead.
yeah, well, I'm not against migrants either. Like, let's be clear, I'm not. What the problem is that if the city only has $100 billion, that's their budget. By law, they can't spend any more, they can't spend any less. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if we're gonna have 1 million migrants here, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, because we're already at like 300,000, so we're gonna be at 1 million very soon.
Yeah.
And if it's costing the city $4,000 a night to house, feed, because it's clothing, it's loaded debit cards, it's Emblem Health, they get the best medical insurance, they get free food, free housing, free everything. Okay, if you get 1 million people at $4,000,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just so you know, right? Yeah, that medical care is actually. I actually worked in several hospitals, emergency rooms. I've also worked for a pulmonologist trained at Harvard. I also worked for a neurologist that's taking care of nerves. I also worked for a lawyer's office protecting patients from the industry. Right? Yeah. Now they're getting the best health care, but let's take a look at what that health care does. When someone is on Medicaid, right? Yeah, because the government pays for everything, a lot of people get diagnosed with conditions they don't even have because they can, right, then the doctor gets paid off to give them some drugs that they don't need. So they find themselves with a diabetes they're taking diabetes medication. The doctor's making money, the drug company's making money. This poor person, right, yeah, who could really use help is taking drugs they don't need, feeling sick and off. You know what I mean? Is it really good health care? You know what I mean? So, and the taxpayer is being victimized too. So there's everybody's a victim, right? That's why even though I'm a progressive and want to help these people, you're actually hurting them, right? Yeah, you don't even know because you think they're getting health care. You think you're helping them. You're not. You're actually, without looking at the outcomes of what happens to these people, if you don't know these people personally, if you can't follow their stories, then you really, if you think you're helping these people, right? Yeah, because you know what? Because you're a casual and who just says, oh, well, we threw some money at them and everything's going to be okay. Hell no. Hell no. And thank you for your work, Jonathan. Yeah. I know we might not see all these things, but in the long run, as someone who actually works with these communities, they're being harmed. And you know, people like Jonathan, intentionally or not, right? Yeah, is actually helping us. And by the way, he's actually seeing the conditions and he will actually learn what's going on because he's out there where AOC is not. She's busy at the Met Gala. So the more time JDR spends with someone like myself and with that community, he's going to learn about their issues and see it. So I appreciate your hands-on approach. I'm sorry to interrupt you so much, but you're a special candidate, and I asked you to come here today because I see your work constantly coming out for the community, and I wanted to really highlight you as much as I could. Thank you.
Thanks, bro.
Oh,
And yeah, look, and I've listened. It's really just comes down to, as I was saying, the money, right? Because if it's $4,000 a day and there's a million people, it's like $4 billion a day. Like it's just not possible. And what's going to happen is that the city is going to descend into chaos, civil war, crime. There's not going to be any money to pay for the police. So yeah, when I'm talking about simply what I'm seeing, the theft that's going on, right? Like it's when I get kicked out of Republican club meetings because I go in there and I'm asking for the contracts, I'm asking for information, and instead of giving it to me because it's not politically beneficial, right? That I'm calling them out on the fact that everyone's got their hands in the cookie jar. That this is what I'll have to do, but I'm looking out for everybody because that's the thing. You could say, oh, like these migrants, we should take care of them. Okay, we should take care of people. Yes. But you can't take care of every single person when you're the one paying and you can't even go buy. I went to go to get a Doritos the other day in the Lower East Side. It was like $3.50 for a soda. Okay, I mean, listen, you can help everybody you want, but when you have to go pay $20 for a sandwich, and then you're going to be thinking to yourself, what's going on? Believe me, the people that are in NYCHA,
yeah.
they see when they go to the supermarket that the illegals have 3, 4 shopping carts full of food because they have like, God knows how many EBT cards when they can barely fill half their shopping cart. They see them going, and when the elderly in NYCHA that really need medicine, when they can't having trouble getting their insulin and all that stuff, they can see the illegals coming in here and getting anything that they want. You think they don't see that? They see it.
Well, I'm not sure I have the same conclusions, but you know, once again, you are helping in some critical fights. The NYCHA thing, by the way, the migrants, are they really walking out with so much cash? Some of them might be. By the way, some of them might be involved in legal work. And interesting what you said when they go to the grocery store, right? Remember that a lot of the jobs, right? Now we're checking out the groceries ourselves. When we go to McDonald's, we order at the kiosk. We don't order at the table. A lot of the jobs that migrants would take are being removed, are being replaced by machines. So now these people have, if they don't have money, right? Yeah. I was talking last night. What happens? Someone says, like, I don't know what happens when it's cold outside. Like, I've been homeless before, like much of my life, right? Yeah. And the thing is that when it's cold outside and it's freezing, people said, I don't know what you're gonna do. I say, I know exactly what you do. You break into somewhere so you can survive the night. When these migrants that are here, right? Yeah, when they don't have food, how are they going to get that food? I'm going to tell you real simple. Oh, I don't know I'm going to tell you exactly what they're going to start stealing shit. They're going to start breaking shit. They're going to do what they need to survive. So the fact of the matter is that when they're here, the prices are going up. The jobs are more difficult to find. You're going to have you're exactly right. You're creating a crucible environment for chaos, destruction, and mayhem. And who's going to be victimized? The poor people will end up going to the jail. The poor people will end up getting brutalized. You think you're helping them. The long-term plan of this is our destruction. So even though we might not agree on all the paths to get there, there's some definite agreements as in terms of a lot of things you're saying. You're saying a lot of truths that a lot of other people are scared to talk about. Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, you got it. Like I have to go to court on February 28th. Why? Because I went to a food pantry where the landlord and the police department wouldn't feed the people. So I made sure that the people got fed. Now I have to go to court, and the DA is going to prosecute me for that. But that's the thing. There can't be two systems of justice. So you see a lot of crime that's going on too, whereas we, right, have to pay, tax. We have to, if we get too many tickets on our car gets booted. We have speed cameras. We got all kinds of things going on. We jumped the turnstile. We're not gonna have to deal with that. But there are other people that do not get the same prosecution. They beat up two cops the other day, and they just let them go. So, like I said, there's two systems of justice. And think about all the people that grew up in that public housing that for a little bit of drugs, not but 10 years ago, right, are going to jail for 20 years. And now they're giving licenses to people to open up weed stores all over the place. And they're just, and listen, I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying that it's not fair that they've decimated the low income communities, and then now people can see that there's two systems of justice. So again, if everything was fair, then no problem. I would love to help every single person also, but and here's the thing. Let me just say this. Why NYCHA? Why are they doing this? Here's the thing that I don't think people really understand, right? Because the city is housing the migrants now at their own expense. That's the thing that they have to understand. NYCHA is federal, right? Once the federal government pays, then the city doesn't have to. So since the Biden administration right now doesn't want to fund, because NYCHA only has maintenance men. Like if it was up to me, I would make a complete construction division in NYCHA. I would open up trade schools, put them right in the middle of the projects, and teach the kids from the community how to be electricians and plumbers and carpenters and let them fix their own buildings. But because there's no money, right, that they have to get the federal government to pay to house them. And the only way that they can pay to house them is through Section 9 and Section 8. Now, why aren't they giving you Section 9? Because that's for life. So they're going to switch over to Section 8 because they need the money to house the migrants. And that's what I'm trying to say. When you have a bunch of people that need homes, that they're going to get the homes, who do you think is not going to get those homes?
Yeah, we need to talk about that because you're right in most things you say, but the thing is that recently, right, the politicians, they love to do this, right? They reinvent the terminology. So they've recently pulled a switcheroo on what Section 9 means. You're right in the things you're saying, but the politicians like to change what the words mean, and then all of a sudden you're fighting a new fight. So there's some recent changes that happened. By the way, just for the people that might say, "Oh, New York City Housing Authority, that's city controlled." You're not wrong in that, but also remember that NYCHA does receive HUD money, which is a federal program. So Jonathan Rinaldi is right in saying that there are federal dollars and there's a federal monitor involved in the case. So for all the people that know better and be like, "Oh, Jonathan doesn't know what he's talking about," no, he does. Okay, so it's a complex system. There's a lot of there's multiple things true at one time, right? It is a city agency, but there's also federal dollars involved, and there's federal oversight going on, right? So for all the people that want to say one thing, it's a complex subject. But thanks again. So the Section 9, Section 8 thing, we're going to talk about that further. But overall, in terms of helping the residents themselves, Jonathan has been a leader. And once again, thank you for your work in that. Yeah. Keeping up with all their bogus crap right now, they call it, they have a new thing called, they had an old thing called the trust, which was cut down. Now I think they have a new thing called preservation trust. They keep resurrecting it like a zombie. They keep resurrecting their bad plans with new faces and new names and new personnel, right? And one thing you talked about AOC earlier, right? She's really, she's pretty, and you can't deny that. But they have this, they use a lot of light-skinned faced Latinas, right? Cat Williams said it, right? They use a lot of weird-faced, light-skinned chicks to actually engage their diversity look while at the same time discriminating against them and greenlighting a whole bunch of elitist ass bullshit. You know, Jonathan Rinaldi ain't at no Met Gala. You know what I mean? Right? You never been to the Met Gala, have you?
No, I don't even own a suit that is expensive enough that they would actually let me into the front door. So
Hey man,
yeah,
you
but
always
that's
invite to my party, man. Yeah, Jonathan Rinaldi is
yeah.
one of my people. Just, and I know we're not agreeing on everything, straight up. But once again, he's going to spend time with me, and that's worth so much. That's more than some fake image. AOC is in a lot of ways so fake. Once again, look at my body working disabilities, homeless people, public housing. AOC is never involved with any of it ever. Yo, F AOC, like fuck AOC, straight up. Yeah, I'm late enough in the video I could say that.
Yeah, and then you touched on the city of yes, because I think that,
That's a new
at the end of the day, right? And again, remember, it's all tied into the same thing. Like, I just want to create sort of the story. So they have these people that they need to pay for. Now, the city can't pay for it, so they need to find a way for the federal government to pay for it. Fine. Now, right? Now you talk
exactly right.
about
Yep.
now you're talking about zoning. Now you're talking about what is possible. What are they trying to do? They want people to say, okay, you want to rent out your illegal basement apartment? Fine, we'll give you the Section 8 waiver so that you can put an illegal down in your basement. You have 30 people living in your house now because that's just what it's like to be an immigrant. You do what you got to do. It's like you go and you have rooming houses. So you want to have a rooming house and then put a restaurant in there? No problem. So the zoning is what they're trying to attack now with the city of yes, because they brought these people, they don't have the money to pay for them. Now they're trying to figure out how to get the federal government involved, and now they're going to change all the zoning so that we can actually have an economy, which quite frankly is going to be drugs and prostitution, because that's the only thing that is being opened up now. And whether or not you like the libertarian in me, I'm not against. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I would like things to be legal and free. My problem is that I have children. And as much as I would love everyone to be able to open up anything, I think that if you're going to have weed and prostitution legal, it should be in a district. It should be in a section that you can have as many as you want. And the reason is because I have kids, I got teenagers. My kids don't do half the stuff I did when I was a teenager. I grew up in the 90s, no cell phones, like going to raves, doing crazy stuff back then, right? But I don't want my kids having access so easily to edibles and just these
Yeah,
pre-rolls and like so.
I agree.
And again, but I do think that we should have the freedom without too much government intervention. But with that being said, the only thing that's going to happen, because it's easy money, is the city is yes is going to be our city is going to look like weed stores and prostitution, and that's the only thing that's going to be allowed, and it's going to be houses with 50 people living in them, and that's what New York City is going to look like, and it's going to be crazy.
I appreciate weed stores, but the thing is, I think it goes too far when they open one on the same block or actually next door to like elementary or middle school. I'm like, damn, like, come on, man, like, we got to have some boundaries. I'm not against that, you know, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
But again, it can't be the only thing that, like, you go to a community board meeting and it's really just people, accepting weed store licenses now. Like, this isn't what we need to be doing. We need to be reinvesting, specifically in public housing areas to teach these kids to be, to have skills. We should, and also we shouldn't be paying, for example, for energy, right? We have geothermal energy. We have
that's true.
hydrotherapy, right? Like, why can't we take the money out of if we need the industrial complex to have work? Like, why do we have to make bombs and blow things up? Why don't we have them build hydro power plants up and down the east and the western seaboard? Not these windmill nonsenses. Like, there should be different technologies, and that's a good way to spend our money and get something out of it. But
Yeah.
none of this is happening.
I can actually testify personally about how residents in public housing have mold that's causing them to go to the hospital. And instead of fixing that, right, the progressives are all like, oh, we're going to install this new heater system in your place that's going to save the environment. The person's in the hospital dying and you're changing their heater when the mold's killing them. Like, yo, you're they don't care about these people's health. They care about rolling out their own bullshit and getting rich off of it. It's disgusting.
Well,
So
that
yeah,
has to do with local law 97, because they passed this bill. Also, Mayor Adams is also doing crazy stuff that everything has to be electric. There's no more gas, or so they can't just have residences or privately owned institutions convert and not the public. So, again, it's all about trying to convert us into this green energy system,
and it's
where we
sad because it
sell.
sounds like you have some environmental, leanings, like I do too. But they use this word environmentalism and they pollute it and they use it to hurt us. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll shut up now. You're doing great. Go ahead.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right, because remember, what are we made out of? It just becomes a thing of simple education. Like, what are we made out of? We are carbon-based life forms. We breathe out carbon dioxide. So, like, they're masking us up. They want us to tax our breath. That's what it comes down to. This is a control system. Um, so again, now that they're changing the zoning, right? Now we're going into transportation, because now they want to control our movement. They don't want us driving cars, because nobody's going to be able to afford a 90,000 electric vehicle, or to get one that's used, because the battery costs $60,000. And the city council has been selling out our public streets. Like, when you see City Bike parked, when they have all their bikes, the city council has taken away public property and rented it out to a corporation. Do you understand? So they're coming now with the city of Yes, with transportation alternatives, with all of this stuff. Now they're taking our public property and controlling our travel, which is our basic freedom. So it seems like it's very obvious to see the steps and the path of which they're bringing us to, right? Because if we live in a world where we don't have a car, where we have digital currency because the dollar has crashed, because we're not using gas anymore, we have houses that is being paid for by the government. Okay, now imagine you have a social media post nobody likes, right? They'll just turn off your gas for a day or two, or they won't let you get on the train, or let's say you didn't take the vaccination, right? It's going to be all on your phone. Okay, well, you're not going to get your check this month. You can't eat. Like, the control system they're building in place right in front of everyone, and they're doing it so plainly and openly, but they're again making us fight with each other, bringing people in here to just completely divert the attention, having protests about foreign countries and wars, and then completely people are not paying attention to the city. So, like, the plan is so blatantly obvious for everyone to see.
Yeah.
It's right
Yeah.
there.
Hey, being in this, I know you ran for city council last year. I guess you're running for Congress this year. Now, sometimes people will use a race to kind of fund another race, or they just keep it going. It's kind of tough to win against. I know Tina Forte. I know the name. I know that she's quite well recognized. I think you've also been running on a tear out here. What do you think your chances are of making it past the primary? 50-50,
I,
maybe a little bit less, a little bit more.
Listen, I think that I can win on account of I know how to use the media. I know how to use social media. I looked at it. I've studied it. I know exactly what it is that I need to do just to get my name in everyone's mouth, right?
Okay.
So, but I don't, and plus I think that my backstory, right? Because, ultimately there are things that make me look as not a conservative. I do have socially liberal leanings, right? Like, I've helped a number of families conceive, right? But I think that in and of itself, because look, call me whatever you want, but I've actually helped more LGBT people than anyone else, and that's a reality that you can't take from me, because I've helped families conceive, and I've helped families grow. And I've actually been in support of loving conservative families, regardless of what your orientation is, because we are all individuals, and that's what this country is supposed to support, recognize, is the individual, right? So we are all individual. We're just not individuals that are placed in larger groups. Like, I can't be an individual and also be part of a group, a monolith. Like, it's not how that works.
For people who don't
So
know what Jonathan's talking about, he actually was, I think a piece was done called The Sperminator. Uh, he actually has been, within the, I know also there may be a lot of, I believe you're Jewish, a lot of Jewish women may want Jewish sperm for a variety of reasons. They also wanted sperm that was unvaxxed because they're worried about, like, the mRNA affecting the genes. And, he was able to provide that service. So, that's pretty cool, man. I ain't mad at that, Yeah.
yeah, so I use that. So usually what I do is I'll use that sensational story that people like to just read about, and then I'll go off, and then I'll put in some of the conservative messages that need to happen. Because at the end of the day, when my Post article came out, everybody was making fun of me, but little do they know that I actually got them to put in the New York Post that COVID causes infertility, the COVID shot. So as far as my ability to go on a mainstream news outlet like the New York Post and have them put that in print, that's a huge win. That's a huge, huge win. And I'll take that every day. But yeah, I just feel like, look, everyone has a shot, but it comes down to fundraising. That's all it comes down to. Whoever raises the most amount of money is who the party is going to endorse.
Look,
Um,
I know the party right now, there's been some people who push back against you, but that's because you have some potential, right? If you wasn't a threat, then no, you'd be funny, right? And they'd be like, oh, he's cute, like, let him hang out, right? But they're like, well, oh my God, this guy's good on the Post. He's got a lot of energy, oh. So, but you need to actually also build your own machine too, right? How's your are you starting to make relationships in county committee, like, because they control election process, and sometimes those leaders, unfortunately, you can also look up a lot of electeds. What happens that their legislative aide becomes the next senator, or becomes the next, right? They become the next city council person. So it becomes, unfortunately, closed circle loop of corruption starts to seep in and all this other thing, which is why you need outside blood like, Jonathan Rinaldi, to bring that in and change things up a little bit. So I know that you're right. In some ways, you should be actually right having a competitive relationship with Republican Party leadership here, but also you need to also develop that as well, or build your own. How are things going with that? Like, actually, that's one of our plans right now for Rep My Block. Dion, we're actually working to try to get people to run for county committee and be your base to try to support your petitioning efforts and to really help you control electoral districts for a larger win. I know that the social media and the news game, damn, bro, you doing it. You doing it, yeah? More than any other candidate from what I see. But
yeah.
what about the other, right, behind the scenes, like the invisible, like, machine stuff? We got games.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm actually working on getting better at that right now, because when I ran for city council, it was basically an unopposed seat. They let me run. They didn't really know who I was, so they just kind of gave me the ball and I ran with it. I just ran through a couple of walls, you know what I mean? But I'm trying
Love it.
to rebrand, and because there's a big difference between an activist and like an elected, right? Like, I can go out there and I can yell and scream till my head falls off, but you also have to talk to people, not because you need to talk to them to cut deals with them, but you can't address somebody just being in their face. Like, some things are good for camera, and some things are good for the betterment of the city. But I'm, like I said, I'm not a traditional politician. I'm just right place, right time. I just happen to be fed up enough and have the time and the ability to get out there, because somebody has to do something, and there are a lot of people that have been out there, like you, like Dion, like all the people that have basically made it possible for someone like me to even exist. Because I show up, like, all the doors that you guys open are crack. I've just been coming and kicking them open a little more, and then just making people just question. I just want people to just get up and say, damn, that guy is really sounding crazy, but he's actually not saying anything crazy. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what my problem has been. And yeah, there are things I need to work on. I need to calm down a little bit. I need to be a little bit more. I have to give better speeches.
I
Some
love it,
people.
man. Just so you know, out of all the candidates, I have contacted every single one of them. I've documented this as well. Out of all the candidates helping us with public housing, I can't think of anybody doing more for us than really Jonathan Rinaldi. Can you think of anybody? You've been running around for months. You seen anybody else? There's a couple stop by here and there, but not with the consistency that you have, right? They might be one event, maybe two. I haven't seen them at two, right? Or they're running their own little scheme like Carlina Rivera, right? Yeah. Actually, she's the one playing one of the switcheroo on the Safe Section 9. We're going to have to talk about that. Yeah, we'll get to that later, but it's not your fault. But they just pulled recently a little switcheroo with what Safe Section 9s, instead of helping the residents, they're trying to preserve the bureaucracy that's been hurting residents. So this is their horrible game, man. But I appreciate that so much. So hopefully you win the primary. How can people you said you need the donations and stuff. What's the website to is it JDR for NYC?
Yeah, it's just jdrfornyc.com. And on there, I actually made a pretty dope website, much better than my last one. I have videos on there, and my social media is on there, and then you can donate on there, and you can also, there's some forms and stuff you can fill out if you want to get involved, or if you just want to give me an idea of what's going on, so that I can go and investigate it. Because I really want to just keep, like, all I could do is go out there and just share the information, and
I know a guy named Siraj. He's actually libertarian from the in Jackson Heights, and if he's willing to get petitions for himself to run for a county committee, he could also petition for yourself, or also tell people about his candidacy and your candidacy at the same time. That's really what we're trying to build. We have events going on every Sunday. We have two presidential candidates possibly stopping by, Susan Bush-Lachaki and Emmanuel Petrarch, who may actually will try to throw them your way, and other candidates that have been working on issues that we've been working with. Maybe there's a long term, right? You also, I know JDR for NYC may only be existing for this campaign cycle, but you ran last year. You may be running again, right? You're learning the process. You seem like you got the commitment to stick with it until you win it. And I'm very excited to meet you in the beginning like this. Wow. I think you're going places for real. No, I really do. You're very committed. You're very determined. Yeah. So how can people follow your JDR for NYC? Maybe that's going to be what you keep on for a long time. Do you have personal social media, or maybe that people can stay updated with your own work?
Yeah, just Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's all the same thing. JDR for NYC. I'm just keeping it real simple. I should have like some palm cards made up shortly. And I will have just updates to my website. Anytime I'm in an article, or I'm in a, like this interview, I'll put up there. I'll just keep putting up all the stuff that comes out. And just like I said, what I really wanted was, when you look at my work, when you look at my Instagram, you start from the beginning. There's a story that's told. It was a story of me being just a random guy wanting to run for office, then me trying to find information out, and then me going through the administrative process to go through the public officials' offices and make FOIL requests, me getting thrown out of these offices, then me going to the migrant shelters while they were building them.
Oh, we may have lost JDR. Okay, you're back. Cool. You're back.
Just have a
While JD is struggling with his computer, I'm going to tell you right now, I have the most interviews out of any candidate in the 22 election cycle. I do a lot of political work. I think Christopher Leon Johnson might do a little bit more. Shout out to him. But when I say that Jonathan Rinaldi, look at my body of work and look at how many candidates I speak to. When I say Jonathan Rinaldi is special, okay, that's not just another dude saying it, kissing his ass, okay? I come down hard on a lot of candidates. I'm not afraid to say it like it is. Look at how many candidates I talk to. And then once again, think about, if I say that JDR is special, you need to really, I think that has some weight. So,
and I appreciate that. Yeah. Because look, I'm just like everybody else. I'm just from the streets, just like everybody else. It's just, I can't help the way I look. You know what I mean? But
you're a street cat. You definitely got that. You got that street energy. You ready? Yeah. I like that. You ain't backing down. Yeah, New York City street all the way, man. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So
100%.
hopefully when you're primary, I'll send you an email list of a bunch of colleges, governments that I had looked up. Maybe you can get yourself an intern. I know you're overworked. I thank you for having the time to just come on today. I think we'll be doing more work soon, but it's campaign season. Everybody's going crazy right now, including myself. So thank you for making time today. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Just send me whatever info on those people that are running, whoever they are that are in Jackson Heights, the district. We'll get out there together. Like, it doesn't matter. At this point, the only thing that matters is the truth. It doesn't really matter where you're from, what you represent. We just have to get to the bottom of this, and we have to save the city from the corruption. We have no choice.
Yeah. Thank you for once again for your help in public housing. The only candidate that really responded, AOC, never, not even, never. Right. Thanks again, John.
You got it, DJ. Hit me up anytime.
Okay. I just hit end stream right now.